What's the most nutritious protein bar? Well, come join me, Dr. Wes Spiro, functional medicine doctor based out of New York City, as I break down the labels of three major protein bars. So we're going to start with the David bar. So let's go through all the macros first. We have 28 grams of total protein, which is really solid. This is one of the highest amounts of protein in a major protein bar brand. That protein comes from mainly milk and whey protein isolate. So if you do have lactose intolerance or prefer plant protein, that's not the source of this. Let's move along to fat. We have only 2 grams, which is 3% of your daily value, which is solid. We're going to get back into the types of fats shortly. Moving on to carbohydrates, 12 grams or 4%. This amounts to 150 total calories from these macros. When we break down the carbs, we have 1 gram only of fiber, and we'll get back to that. Sugar alcohols are 7 grams with 0 grams of added sugar. So sugar alcohols are what they call metabolically inert sugar. So it works by increasing the taste of sugary-like products in the bar without actually spiking your blood glucose in the same way that true sugar would. But it is a chemical and it's processed. And so for some individuals, it can be quite harsh on the gut. In terms of long-term data on whether these sugar alcohols are bad for the gut lining, that's not very well understood in the literature yet. So let's break down the fat, because the fat actually is coming in this case from modified plant fat. So this is genetically and science-based engineered fat, kind of similar to the sugar alcohols. It acts like fat in the bar, so it makes it more solid and consistent and a better overall taste and eating experience, but it doesn't actually store in your body as fat. Now, similarly, these are considered by the FDA to be quite safe, though it is very processed and not real food. But for some individuals as well, this can be kind of detrimental to the gut line. Total protein compared to fat and carbs, but a lot of processed ingredients. All right. Next, we're going to move on to Bear Bells, another popular protein bar brand. So starting with the macros, we have 20 grams of protein, so a little bit less, and still as well from whey and milk protein isolate. When we move into the fat, there's a little bit more. There's 8 grams. So the saturated fat percentage is actually 17% of your daily fat. So if you were to eat 5 of these in a day, you would already hit your total amount of fat for the whole day. Now, the important thing, though, is that they don't use the genetically modified fats. The majority of fats in this bar are coming from nuts like cashews and peanuts. So it's more whole food. In terms of the carbohydrates, we have 18 grams of carbs, 3 grams of dietary fiber, 1 gram of added sugar, and 5 grams of sugar alcohols. So pretty similar breakdown, not a lot of fiber, and in that same middle range of 5 to 7 grams of sugar alcohol. So overall, this bar is quite similar to David, less protein, but also some less processed foods, but still with a lot of processed sugar alcohols. All right, last bar is Quest. So the Quest bars are pretty interesting and they're distinct from these other brands. So in terms of protein, again, it's 20 grams of protein based on whey and milk isolate. So protein count is quite similar across all three. When we look to fat, there's about 7 grams of fat and only 8% of saturated fat. So this contributes less to your overall total saturated fat percentage for the day. For carbohydrates, there's actually 24 grams, which might sound like a lot. It's a lot more than the other bars. But this is because they put 14 grams of fiber into the bar, so significantly more fiber than the other 2 bars. Now, the reason that companies like Quest put so much fiber into the bar is that this lowers what they call the net effective carbs, because you can subtract fiber from the sugar, and it means total net carbs for you. The reasoning behind this is because if you're eating fiber alongside the carbohydrates, it allows more of the carbohydrates to pass through your system and you don't absorb it into glucose spikes. Now, the problem with this is that the fiber in this bar is not whole fiber from oats and grains. It's processed fiber and fiber that is also quite metabolically inert. So it's not going to lead to full processed absorption of the glucose, and it's not fully effective. In this case, there's still 5 grams of sugar alcohols, and the carbohydrates are still going to lead to glucose spikes. But overall, because of some of that fiber and the protein with the low saturated fat, this is definitely a good option overall, though still with some processed ingredients. If you're interested in me reviewing any popular food labels, drop me a comment below.